You walk into your office, check the mail, you get in there, you've got a big certified letter. You open it and see a court order demanding you take money out of your employee's paycheck. It's 17 pages long and has lots of tiny little boxes and instructions. What do? Don't ignore it. Don't over deduct and screw up your payroll, risk a lawsuit, and definitely don't be talking to the whole office about it. Today, I'm going to walk you through step by step what you should do, how to handle wage garnishments, so you stay compliant, protect your employees, and avoid costly mistakes. Thank you to this episode's sponsor, Redactable. Redactable is awesome. It's an AI powered automated redaction platform, and it helps organizations effectively and securely protect sensitive information in their documents. Adobe Acrobat redaction is slow, it's manual, it often doesn't work, and people are tired of using Sharpies. One issue is also that drawing little black boxes over your documents does not provide permanent redaction. The metadata, the underlying information, a lot of times can just be pulled back out. Most PDF editing tools do not help with removing the metadata from the files, and bad actors can get access to the data. That's why we love Redactable. It's super easy to use. What it does is it allows you to upload a PDF document very quickly. You're able to click the auto button, set all these settings. It finds all kinds of information that should be redacted. You hit the button, it's done like that. Then you can manually go through, do manual redactions, look for a lot of the highlighted projects. So easy to use, and I'm a big fan. Thanks again for sponsoring this episode of People Processes. Back to you. So, what is a wage garnishment? A wage garnishment is a legal order requiring employers to withhold part of an employee's wages to pay a debt. There are lots of different types of order. The highest priority is child or spousal support orders. After a divorce or some other issue, there are times where spouses are demanded to cover children or spouses on their insurance or to pay them money. We call that child support or alimony. If they don't pay it just for the heck of it, eventually you'll get a garnishment notice. Those are often your highest priority. After that, federal tax levies are next, then state tax levies, then federal student loans and administrative debts, again, to the government or student loans. Finally, consumer debts and judgments. The most common ones are child support and consumer debts and judgment. The tax levy stuff, it's important to know it goes federal, state, student loan, but they're not near as common. Key is child support first, then consumer debts and judgment. As an employer, you don't get to decide whether it's valid. You don't get to decide whether you do it. Once you are served, you must follow the order or formally contest it through the issuing agency. This is a court order, not to the employee, to you, the employer. You got a great employee, and he's like, well, Jack, just don't do it. You're breaking the law. And I mean, big problems if you don't follow these orders. So this is a judge writing to you, Mr. Employer, saying, take money out of this guy's paycheck. You have to do it. Okay? Let's talk about the federal framework. This is primarily controlled by the CCPA Title III. It limits most garnishments to the lesser of 25% of disposable earnings or 30 hours of the federal minimum wage. Basically, garnishments shouldn't lower people to below 30 hours of the minimum wage or 25% of their disposable earnings. More than that. It shouldn't take more than that. Lower them to 75. There are exceptions for child support, right? Which again is probably one of the more common ones. But especially for consumer debt, you just can't go beyond that. So one of your first checks should be, is this not child support? And if so, we need to make sure that we're not lowering their check by more than 25% of disposable earnings. We'll talk about what that means more in a second. There's an anti-retaliation rule. You cannot fire an employee for having a garnishment, though you can sometimes fire them for having more than one. But the first one is completely protected. Okay? Multiple debts may be handled differently by different states. We'll get into that a little bit. But in general, one garnishment is not a cause ever for termination. What we mean by disposable earnings, that basis of this is their gross pay minus legally required deductions. That's mainly taxes, Social Security, Medicare. Health premiums, 401k contributions do not reduce disposable income. Okay? So we'll talk more about that, but that's an important thing to know. So it's not, you got to use, when they say take 25% of disposable earnings, they mean basically their gross income minus their taxes. There's some nuance to that, but that's the key. There are special caps on that 25%. Like I said, child support can be as much as 65%, 50%. Depends on how many child support orders they have, right? But normally 50% is there. Still can't lower them below minimum wage. Okay. For an IRS levy, that's a tax levy, there's actually an exemption table, publication 1494 you can look up. So if you get a notice from the IRS that says withhold money for us, they have a publication that says how to calculate that. It's different than child support and others. And then federal loans, those student loans, which have a higher priority than consumer debt, are limited to 15%. So there's just a lot of different pieces to this. Let's talk about the process. Let's talk about how you actually deal with this. First up, you want to confirm the order and its authenticity. You have to know the court, the agency, the sheriff, make sure it applies to the right employee. Here's something that happens, something that's happened in my clients. You get a garnishment order for John Smith. You have a John Smith. It's got your company name on it. It's not the right John Smith. He doesn't have an ex-wife named Cheryl and 3 kids. Like, it's the first thing is to make sure you got the right John Smith, okay? So to confirm order authenticity, you got to look and call, right? You want to make sure there's a social security match. You want to make sure, because that's actually the most common, right? Sometimes in this case, what it was the order was unclear on social. And when we called in, because normally they have social security numbers on there, they gave us one and it was not the right one. And it turned out what had happened is it wasn't a child support order, it was a debt. They had done a search for this guy and found him working at the client's company, but it wasn't the right John Smith. It wasn't John Smith, but somewhat more unique name, but still wasn't the right guy. Then you have to reply, and this is where our sponsor comes in, Redactable. When you reply, you have to verify the employee identity, employment status. So say he used to work for you in the past, but doesn't anymore, you got to reply to that. Sometimes you got to reply with payroll records showing he still works with you and how much he makes. There's normally a 7 to 30 day response deadline. It varies by state and what type of garnishment, but it's not uncommon for it to be very quick, 7 days. Like next week, let me know if this guy works for you, how much money he makes, and how much you're sending me. Okay? So you have to respond to that issuer. There's an employer answer form that's provided with every garnishment. You confirm the employment status, pay frequency, and disposable earnings on there. And you have to send it back promptly. Don't ignore, even if the employee no longer works there. Oftentimes, when you send information back, you're going to need to use actual records you have, and you don't want to send things that they don't have any right to know. Okay? So, for example, you may have an HRIS system that you print off the employee summary page, has employee ID, social, name, start date, and current status. And on that same page is information about disciplinary status, promotion material, trainings taken. That stuff needs to be redacted, okay? Don't give a bunch of information that wasn't solicited. Just a very good rule. Then you need to notify the employee. It's not required in every state, but in the states that it is, it's a big deal if you don't. It's very simple. Neutral, factual notice. We received a court order. By law, we must withhold X dollars. Here's who to contact if you want to contest. Not you, not your HR team. Contact on the notice. The sheriff, the judge, whatever it is that issued the warrant, okay? Or the garnishment notice, okay? So you want to give them that contact information. You don't have to give them a copy of the garnishment, but you do have to give them a notice that you're going to start doing this. You need to keep this private. These need to go in HR files that are secure. It's not good to let everybody in the company know that Jack's got a garnishment for not paying his child support. Okay, bad thing. So make sure these are kept confidential. Only payroll, HR need to know. His manager does not need to know he has a garnishment. It's not a disciplinary event. All right, now comes the hardest part. You've replied, you said, yes, we got it. Now you got to calculate the withholding, okay? You got to apply the correct cap. On the notice, there's going to be either a link to a website or a long description of these rules. But here's a quick example. Let's say it's for unpaid rent, right? So it's a consumer debt under that case. The 25% rule or the minimum wage rule is going to apply there. So if that employee earns $1,000 a week after taxes, net, 25% of that is $250. If the order says $400, you can only send $250. You cannot reduce their pay below that 25% mark. You got to deduct starting on the payroll after the notice, and then you got to remit the money with the case number and employee ID back to wherever it says to remit. You are able to apply admin fees depending on what state. For example, in California, you can charge $1.50. In Tennessee, $5. Illinois, $5. Florida, none. New York, $2 per check. That's to cover your cost of sending that money off. Some states allow you to do a percentage, 3% of the garnishment. Okay, got to look that up. You don't have to. It's no big deal if you don't, but you're allowed to collect that money yourself as an administrative fee for handling this garnishment. Those remittances are normally done for consumer debts via a check and report because it's normally going to some either actual company or a remittance department of a court. It's not normally something you can do electronically. Child support, the most common and largest garnishment, is almost always available to be done electronically. It can either be done if you're a small employer, you can set it up so you get a website and you go in every payroll, you type in the amount, you hit the button, it sweeps it from the company account. Okay. If you're a larger company or you're working with a company like ours, we have ways of state feeds. So every state has actually an ACH protocol. You can send money in with information in the memo line, basically, and it'll connect it appropriately. Obviously, if you have a lot of garnishments, that's definitely the better way to go, but it is a booger to set up for each state. It's not just magic. You have to send them a test file. They have to accept it and agree that this is the right format. So it's unlikely that you'll do that in a small business. You'll just get used to having somebody have to log in and pay this guy's garnishment. That's why they let you charge the $2 admin fee. Is it worth it? No, but it's a protected thing. Okay. You got to remit on schedule. Do not miss these. You've taken the money out of the employee's check and now you've got it in your bank account. You don't send it off, you stole from the employee. It's called embezzlement and it's a big problem. Okay. Once you've got everything rolling, everything seems fine, but you got to monitor. Orders end only when you, the employer, receive a release or termination. Okay. Do not take the employee's word for it. Hey, we're all caught up. You don't need to hold that out of my check anymore. Negative. The court will send you a letter saying, stop withholding this money. Okay. Also, if the employee quits, you have the responsibility to let the issuer know that they quit. Once you've received a garnishment order, you're required to let them know about the employment status. And you got to keep those records secure. Next up, what happens if you get multiple garnishments? Okay, it gets a little more complicated, and I don't want to go super in depth, but as we talked about, child support goes first, then federal, state, student loans, and then consumer judgments. Okay, so if a child support requires $300 and the cap only allows $250, you take $250 out for support and send a notice that the cap prevents full deduction. Other creditors have to wait. Multiple child support orders are real complicated. They may share available funds proportionally. So you get 2 child support orders from different mamas, different babies, whatever, different daddies. Non-discrimination here. They may not, it may be about the order that you get them in, or it may be that when you get a new one, you have to recalculate both and you want to average it out across all of them. Good software can handle this, but if you don't have it, and I'm telling you, most don't, get Gusto, those guys, like the easy small business ones, QuickBooks, they don't support multiple child support orders. Okay. They don't have the calculation capability of them. The larger ones, like the ADP workforce, the larger size, of course, people processes, we're more than happy to handle those calculations and our systems can handle it. But multiple child support orders can get complicated real quick. So make sure you understand if you're doing this on your own, which I don't recommend, call the agency. There's a number on there. There's always someone there. They may take a day or two to call you back to walk you through how this calculation should go. And it's likely something you're going to have to spreadsheet every freaking payroll, unless you got good software. Okay. And then finally, you may receive a bankruptcy notice. Okay. If you get a bankruptcy notice, it's an automatic stop to everything except child support. Okay. So that's another time you will see sometimes is that their lawyer or their court will send you a bankruptcy notice. It's not from the same place that you got your deductions, but you gotta honor that as well. Okay. But it doesn't normally support child support, right? It does not affect child support. So there's a lot to this. People processes can help. Our HR team is excellent at this. This is one of those things we deal with all day, every day. There are a lot of state nuances. Like I mentioned in Tennessee and federally, there's that 25% limit, $5 admin fee, and there's strong creditor rights in Tennessee. So that's a state where if you owe people money, it's relatively easy to get a garnishment, and the garnishments through employers are really strong. Okay. In Florida, consumer debt garnishments are much more limited. There's no admin fee, and there's a head of family exemption. So if you're the primary breadwinner, instead of it being 30 times minimum wage, you can never lower it before 750 per week, 100 times minimum wage. Okay, just very different. California has strict limits tied to the state minimum wage, has a small $1.50 admin fee, and has huge penalties for noncompliance. Insane if you screw this stuff up. New York has a 10% disposable income cap for consumer debts and has a child support department that's really, really good, honestly. They're really responsive, a great online system, easy to schedule. Like New York garnishments or child support's really good, but consumer garnishments absolutely suck. Illinois does a 15% gross or 25% of disposable, whichever is better for the employee. Okay. So it depends on their taxes. And they have a lot of priority rules, all codified, how you handle multiple lists. So you have to look at this from a state by state perspective. Common issues we see is ignoring an order, right? So if you ignore the order, you are liable as the employer for the entire debt. Don't do that unless you want to pay the child support for your staff. Don't ignore it. Miscomputing disposable incomes by subtracting voluntary deductions by saying, oh, their health insurance should come out before the 25%. You got to make very clear on what is disposable earnings. Over disclosing employee PII internally. This happens. I don't know why it happens, but I see people get child support orders. And of course, the mail gets opened by somebody. It goes to the admin, then it goes to the payroll person, whatever. Like, I understand, but in the normal course of mail, but I see it happening where we're over disclosing that employee information to managers or coworkers. Don't do that. Also, in responding to the notice, again, our sponsor Redactable got great software for helping you be able to provide good records without over disclosing anything you're not supposed to. Remitting to the wrong place happens a lot. Child supporters go to the state disbursement unit, not to the courthouse. Like, look closely on the dang notice and don't send it to the wrong place. And firing or disciplining employees because of the garnishment. That's a federal violation for just one. It's more than that, check your rules. But for the first garnishment, do not fire this person. It is such an easy case to get you screwed up, okay? When you're handling garnishment paperwork, you're going to need to send back proof of wages or employment. Those documents can contain sensitive information like social security numbers or account data that should never circulate outside of your company. That's where today's sponsors Redactable comes in. Their automated redaction tool lets you permanently remove PII before sharing payroll reports or copies internally or externally. It's SOC 2 compliant, ensures you disclose what's required, and nothing more. Check out the link below to streamline your compliance. Highly appreciate Redactable sponsoring us. Wage garnishments can feel overwhelming, but if you follow the process, verify, respond, notify, calculate, remit, and monitor, you'll protect your business and support your employees through a tough situation. If you want a downloadable checklist with state admin fee rules, priority charts, grab it in the description below. And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe. We cover HR and payroll compliance, along with the broad strokes of making sure that you can grow and scale your people operations every week so you don't have to navigate it alone. Thanks for tuning in. Go out there, have a great day, and get your work done.